All right, hello world, welcome to Capitol Hill. We are here with a very special edition of Village Voices with an extremely special guest, our friend, our shero, and the loudest voice, the biggest champion for maternal health on Capitol Hill, Congresswoman from the great state of Illinois, Lauren Underwood.
Hey Charles, hey Gabby.
Hey
Community. So happy to be here with you today.
So we have a lot to get into, but today is all about a conversation about the Momnibus 101, right? People who've been following your journey since you stepped foot on Capitol Hill have to be familiar with this. People who've been following the work that we've been doing in 4Kira4Moms, unless they have somehow escaped the algorithm, we have been championing this piece of legislation. But we're at a crossroads, and this is important for the community to understand what the Momnibus is and how it's going to impact all families throughout the country. So do you want to start giving a little bit of history and what really drove you and got you excited and passionate about this issue when you got here?
Thank you. So I'm Lauren Underwood. I am the lead sponsor of the Momnibus here in the house, and I'm a nurse. And I remember being early in my clinical education, they said something like, oh, there's just something about Black moms where they're more likely to die. And I was like, I don't know about that. And so, went on through school, start working, and when I was wrapping up my service in the Obama administration, one of my good girlfriends from my time at Hopkins was getting ready to give birth to a beautiful girl named Soleil. And a couple weeks after Dr. Shalon Irving gave birth, she died due to complications related to preeclampsia, related to her pregnancy. And I remember going to the funeral, and the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention spoke at her funeral. Shalon worked at the CDC in Atlanta. And the CDC director said, yeah, we just can't understand how that happened. And I was like, it just never sat right, that sentiment.
Yeah.
And so when I ultimately decided to run for Congress, and when I won, I knew that this issue of maternal mortality was something that I wanted to work on, and that there were solutions that we could advance to save lives, but I wasn't hearing anything about them on Capitol Hill. So teamed up with Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina, hi Alma, and we started the Black Maternal Health Caucus, and then, we were inundated with outreach from providers and researchers, from industry groups, from advocates who have been doing the work in community for decades without any kind of support from any level of government, much less the federal government, and they started reaching out, offering feedback and ideas. And so we formalized that into a stakeholder summit. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
And then we took the findings from the stakeholder summit and turned it into a bill called the Momnibus. Now the Momnibus is a play on words. It takes the legislative word omnibus, which just means big bill, or compilation of bills, but it's for moms. And so when we first introduced it, it was 9 bills in one package, and now we're up to 14.
Amazing. And so this has really been a journey. And so Gavin, turn over to you, because we have questions from the community. We have so much to talk about, but Gavin, turn over to you.
Yeah, so with that, how did you all meet? I need you to give people, because this is about the Momnibus, but also the relationship that we have with our shero and our partner in this journey.
So I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we met. I don't even remember a time without working with. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. Like somehow it's almost like, when did you meet your uncle? When did you meet your like? I don't even recall specifically, but I do remember. In all fairness, in all sincerity, I remember when I first heard about this, and I heard about your leadership, and the thing that struck me is it wasn't a, hey Charles, we want to use Kira's story to further this legislation. It was, Charles, we're working on something and we want your insight. As a survivor, as someone that has watched your wife make the ultimate sacrifice. And I think that that's one of the things that is so truly special about what you have built, along with all of your colleagues here on Capitol Hill, is something that was truly grounded in community, influenced by the perspective of folks like me who have lived experience, the people who are on the front line, people who are, policy experts, people who are in the private sector, stewarding companies, and then, clinicians, doulas, community health workers, all came together to give their insight. And that's no small feat, to get everybody aligned, moving in the same direction. It really is a testament to, one, your heart as a service leader, but your leadership. And so I'm just grateful. And so, yeah, it's been a journey.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to use your expertise here because I remember, I'm going to show my age here. I'm just the bill sitting on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
But like you said, this omnibus package. So can you help our viewers understand how this works? Because there are 14 bills. They are all sponsored. But then they're individual bills. Right. So can you take through how each of them work and really the next will be a follow-up of what they can do to get this passed and what we need our community and our partners to do to move this forward.
Okay, so let's just get into it. Number one, the Momnibus is a big bill. Within that big bill are 14 individual bills. So we have 15 pieces of legislation, the Momnibus plus the individual 14. Okay, and so when you introduce the bill, that bill gets referred to committee. Okay, and so while we in my office are busy trying to get co-sponsors on the bill, the committee starts to evaluate the bills and determine if they want to advance those bills through committee to then be able to be considered on the floor. So to date, since the first introduction of the Momnibus in 2020, we've had several bills move through committee and have consideration on the floor as an individual or being repackaged, right? And so, for example, our bill to support veteran moms, the Protecting Moms Who Serve Act, was referred to the Veterans Affairs Committee. Okay. And that one was passed through the Veterans Affairs Committee in the House and the Senate and was signed into law by President Joe Biden in November 2021. That's an example that you were talking about. I'm just the bill, schoolhouse rock, the system working like it's designed to. Yes. As we all know, things up here on Capitol Hill are extremely dysfunctional and often do not work in that way at all. So what we've been trying to do is get individual co-sponsors onto the overall Momnibus. Yes. We have 205 co-sponsors on the Momnibus. You need 218 votes.
Okay, so 205, 218 means we need 13 more.
That's right. That's the gap. But, okay, so if you say that you co-sponsor something, that's sort of like a promise that you're going to vote for it if it comes to the floor. It says, I support this legislation, I think it should advance. So think of it as like 205 promises, and we need 218 votes. Okay, so just because someone doesn't co-sponsor doesn't mean they won't vote for it. And just because someone votes for something doesn't mean that they have co-sponsored it, right? But so we're in the zone, friends. But we're trying to get across the finish line. Now, the dynamics here on Capitol Hill are such that, at least on the House side, even if we have all of the Democrats on board in supporting this legislation, that's not enough. We will need to have some Republican votes. So the easiest way for us to tell if we're going to have Republican votes is to get Republican co-sponsors.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we have been encouraging so many folks across the country who are supportive of this work to end our nation's maternal health crisis, to help share your story, and to reach out to your Republican representative and ask them to co-sponsor the Momnibus. So that's just the House. This process plays out in a similar way in the Senate, whereas the partisan split means that you have to have the support of Democrats and Republicans right now in order to advance a bill to the floor for a vote and then into law. So we're very excited that we have a lot of Democrats. We don't have all the Democrats, and we need some Republicans.
And so let's stick right there, because I really just want us to talk just a little bit about the bipartisan nature of this bill, right? And I think that's one of the things, too, that when I'm in conversation, when I'm meeting with people, regardless of what side of the aisle, I think that we know that this is that government is slow and sometimes dysfunctional by nature, but even now we're in a very politically polarizing time. We have to tell it how it is. But with that being said, what we've done our best to do, what you all at the Black Maternal Health Caucus have done, is really create an opportunity for bipartisan collaboration. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about constituencies, when we talk about people who are pro this or anti that, people who want to see mothers survive childbirth and raise healthy babies, it transcends partisan politics. So just talk a little bit about that and how you've been able to create a bipartisan coalition for some of these bills and what you would like to see, and if there are some things that you would urge people to, talking points that you can urge people to have with their local representatives.
Sure. So I think of this issue, ending our nation's maternal health crisis, as nonpartisan. right? It is not a partisan statement at all to say that moms should be able to survive childbirth and live to see their baby's first birthday.
Yes,
that is not a
absolutely.
partisan statement. And so from that foundation, then we can get bipartisan support, right? So from people who have that partisan lens, I'm a conservative. I believe in, small government. You know what I mean? Well, fine, but you also believe that moms should be able to survive childbirth and live to see their baby's first birthday. And then similarly, I'm a progressive. I believe that people should have, free healthcare. Great. You also believe in those things, right? So we've been able to, from a values perspective, appeal to members of Congress across the ideologic range, right? A spectrum. And so what we have done is several of the bills are bipartisan at introduction. What does that mean? That means that when we introduced the Momnibus this Congress, there had been some Republicans who were with us on day one.
Yes.
So those bills are our Veterans Bill, the Maternal Health for Veterans Act, which reauthorizes the program that we got signed into law in 2021, because it's been 5 years, friends.
Yeah.
And so we need to formally reauthorize this program. That one's bipartisan. The Tech to Save Moms, which is investing in the tech tools and the digital, so your Count Your Kicks apps, your screeners for maternal or postpartum depression or anxiety. If you have a suicide, there's apps that can help you with that.
Yes.
From remote blood pressure monitoring. All of those digital tools are not necessarily covered by insurance.
Yeah.
If you have Medicaid, they're definitely not covered by your state Medicaid program. And so we're trying to increase the access to those life-saving digital tools, and we have a bill to do that. That's bipartisan. Our NIH Improve Act is bipartisan. We set up a new program at the National Institutes of Health, and it has been very successful in getting dollars into communities and advancing and accelerating the research so we can get new diagnostic tools, new tools that are just working to help monitor and prevent death, right? And that has been extremely successful, and that's bipartisan. We have a couple others, okay? So what I want people to know is that we are able to kind of turbocharge those bills that are bipartisan in introduction. Why is that? Because we know that the Republicans are on board.
Yep.
Because they're on board from day one. And so part of our strategy is working in parallel. Let's get as many co-sponsors on the full Momnibus as possible, but let's also put pressure on the committees to move the bills that are bipartisan. So then that way, as deal-making season approaches, right? So if we look at the calendar year, at the end of every time, we're really getting in the weeds.
Let's
right?
get into
So you're still watching.
This is Civics 101. You're getting all the sauce.
Exactly.
All the sauce.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So deal-making season's coming up, and people are going to start trying to negotiate and wrap up their work. We're going to be in the mix, and we're going to come out victorious at the end, hopefully, with one or more of our Momnibus bills being signed into law. Even by President Trump, okay? It is possible. We're doing the work right now, but we need your help.
Yes. And this is the time, because they just did moms.gov, which is a website. But the bills are the things that are actually going to move the needle. So it's time to put the pressure on. And with that pressure, the one thing you didn't mention, and I don't know if you can help explain a bit, is so when a bill is appropriated, but it's not actually passed, what does that look like? Because one of those bills is our bill.
You all need to know where your tax dollars are going. This is the inside nitty gritty, because they're taking the money out your check every week, so you got to know how it works and how you can have a voice and say something.
Okay, so, y'all are from Atlanta. You are familiar with, truisms of hip hop.
Yes.
Like, it's
let's
about
go.
the money.
Let's go.
It's about the money.
Okay,
Money.
or cash rules everything around me.
Yes.
Great.
There were dollar bills.
Okay, so we are familiar with the role of money and how essential it is to get this money, and how that money is the critical tool in being able to invest into communities in order to save lives. And so appropriations is the process by which we allocate your federal tax dollars across the whole government. And this is how we are able to invest in the solutions, the interventions, the tools that will end this nation's maternal health crisis. So we have a separate process for appropriations. And so I serve on the appropriations committee. And so what this means is we've been fighting every day. Yes, block it. It means we've been working every day to to go get this money. And friends, we've been real successful. Okay, so since probably fiscal year 23, so for the last 3 years, we've been able to get over $300 million.
Say that again, please.
$300 million into communities based on the Momnibus bills. So these programs were never funded until we wrote the Momnibus, and even without them being signed into law, we've been able to get the money flowing into communities and putting that money to work. So we've been able to fund HBCUs for the first time to do maternal health research. We've been able to fund community-based organizations, bypassing these red state governors and these hating red state legislators and getting the money directly into those organizations that have been doing the work that are most trusted in the communities every day. That's based on the Keira Johnson Act, right? We've been able to fund, even at a small level, $10 million, but it makes a difference. And we're working to grow that appropriations amount. What's important to know is that appropriations happens every year. And when there's an appropriations failure, we end up with a shutdown. You see how this is all connected, you guys? And so shutdowns are tragedies. We don't celebrate them. We're trying to avoid that shutdown, which means that our appropriations work needs to continue. So if you look on our Black Maternal Health Caucus website, there are two things I want people to check out. Number one is the Momnibus Money Tracker.
Yes.
Momnibus Money Tracker lets you know where those $300 million have gone. And you can search by your state and see if it's shown up in your neighborhood, in your health department, or your local university, or an organization that's doing great work in your community. And then you can connect with them and learn more about how those dollars are being put to work and what new resources are available. This is important because so many people come to us, and they're like, oh my God, I learned I was expecting, and I was immediately feeling dread. I was so anxious because they know the statistics, but they don't know that there are now these new resources. So that's number one, Momnibus Money Tracker. But then number two on our website are the list of appropriations priorities. And so when you are reaching out to members of Congress, you can ask them to fund these specific programs and talk about how impactful they have been in the state that that member is from. It's a way to connect. It's a way to build credibility, and it helps just in terms of talking points. You asked about that before. Let's pull out some of that data from that Momnibus Money Tracker in our advocacy in doing the outreach to ask that member of Congress or senator to co-sponsor the big Momnibus bill.
All right, so what I'm hearing is when you do reach out, right, one, it's let them know, find your constituents. You can go on our website, you can go on the government website, type it in, but check that tracker, because then you can already say, hey, you're already supporting maternal health, but now we need you to support the actual legislation that will continue to fund the money and make it law.
That's right, because if we don't formally authorize these programs, then it can be cut on a whim. There's no requirement, there's no mandate. But if we are able to get the Momnibus signed into law, then these programs will be required that the federal government make these investments. The Momnibus overall is $1 billion, billion with a B. That's a lot of money. To be invested. Well, I mean, they're spending $1 billion every day in Iran.
Exactly.
Relative. And I had the opportunity to testify. I think I said one time, like literally, I found the statistic that for the cost of a single aircraft carrier, we could provide doula or midwifery care for every single mother in the United States.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's about what are our priorities. Yes. Something I say oftentimes too is we talk about the cost of these lives. If this was a domestic terrorist attack and 400 to 800 to 1,200 Americans died, they would spare no cost from the national security investment in, all the violations of our civil liberties, everything they needed to do to prevent it from happening again. And so we have to frame these things in ways to make sure they can understand what the cost is and how we are misaligned with our priorities when it comes to saving moms and babies.
And so with that, some of these states, red states, are getting funded.
Many of these red states are getting, basically all of them.
So what's then the pushback on supporting the bill? Because these are, again, the talk points that our constituents can go to and say, what's the issue? Why are people not supporting? Like, why has this not passed?
Okay, so real talk. I'm 39. A lot of my friends are having babies. Culturally, people are, in my life, as millennials, right, this is very much of the life stage I'm in. I am very rare as a legislator here on Capitol Hill. Yes. Most of my colleagues, their children have stopped having kids, right? So they are grandparents or great grandparents whose kids or younger people in their lives are not in the child rearing stage. Okay, and so what that is important is because they just don't have a connection. They don't have context. They don't have a reference point. They haven't stepped foot in anything related to a baby or a pregnant person in decades even. And they just are disconnected.
Yeah.
And that's not an excuse, it's an explanation. And so that means that we have to, number one, catch and hold their attention.
Yeah.
Number two, make them focus and help them to understand that this is a problem that they can solve. They have agency, they have power, and it's not a heavy lift. But what we're fighting against is inertia. Now, I don't know how many of us were paying attention in physics. And physics was a long time ago.
We didn't have civics and physics.
A long time ago
Economics.
for so many of us. But this idea of that initial burst of energy to start taking action is greater than the amount of energy that's required to sustain that action. Okay? And so the reason that it's tough to get some of these Republican colleagues to engage is because they have not been engaging on anything related to moms and babies and families for many years. They don't do it in their personal lives and they don't do it in their professional lives. So we have to give that extra boost of energy to get them going. And then once they're going, I mean, they're right there for us. Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to get them back year after year. It's not hard to ask for more.
Sure.
It's not hard to get them on a second or third bill once you get them on that first bill. But getting their attention, energy, is really sometimes challenging. It has oftentimes nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do with data. It has nothing to do with us doing something right or wrong. It's really about attention.
And when we talk about attention too, I think another thing too that we've done our best to do is to draw the parallel to some of the things that may, I'm just going to say it, seem hypocritical about statements, right? And we hear conversations coming out of this administration about the focus on a new baby boom, right? And then I'm seeing all these reports coming out over the past couple of weeks about people being so terrified that now we're having these declining birth rates. For us and for you, people who are going around the country having these conversations, talking to families, talking to mothers, talking to people who are in a key life stage where they should be or would be, not should, I don't want to even pretend to suggest what people should be doing, but where they might be looking at starting a family, we have to have a real conversation about the role that fear is playing in these decisions.
That's right.
That are contributing to declining birth rates and the cost of healthcare.
That's right.
Right? And so those are two key, very critical pieces that this legislation addresses is one, access to quality care, and then also alleviating these fears and helping people understand that they have access to quality care regardless of who they are and how they show up for their birthing experience.
And that access to quality care, that's one of the reasons why we're here. We need you to call in because 84% of these deaths are preventable. And the Momnibus basically covers all of those solutions, right? I mean, so there's 14 bills. Can you high level cover what they, so we know either the Kira Johnson Act, is the CBOs, you got the Tech to Serve.
Yep. I'll walk through. Okay. So the number one cause of preventable maternal death in this country is when you combine suicide and overdose. That's killing more moms than anything else, including for black women. Okay, and so we have the Moms Matter Act, which is designed to increase the number of perinatal mental health professionals that will be available in every community. So that if a mom is in crisis, she can immediately get to care. The data tells us that there is a shortened window if there's like a suicide ideation for that mom, either as a pregnant person or in that postpartum period, to have a suicide attempt. To go from idea to attempt is much quicker in this pregnancy postpartum stage than in any other life stage. Okay, so we need to have the resources, and that's what the Moms Matter Act does. Kira Johnson Act, named after the incredible, beautiful Kira Johnson, who we all love, but most importantly Charles loves, and was so generous to, when Kira's name to the bill, would fund community-based organizations to be able to do this work with robust federal funding and support in all kind of communities, Atlanta, Birmingham, Little Rock, there's great organizations in Northern South Carolina, Florida, Texas, etc. Okay, We have the tech bill that we talked about, a veterans bill. We have a bill to clean up data collection. There's big problems with data collection, and sometimes the metrics or the statistics are unreliable because everyone's not reporting the same. So we're working on that. We have a bill to deal with social determinants like housing and nutrition and healthy environments. There's the Protecting Moms and Babies Against Climate Change Act, because moms are dying of extreme heat and air pollution, if you can believe that. And so we have a bill to address it. Help me out. The NIH Improve Act is now in the Momnibus. Guys, it's comprehensive.
Yes.
Okay? There's a lot of bills. There's something for everyone. And all of them are shown through data. We looked at the biomedical journals. We heard from the experts. They told us what to do. Oh, the workforce. Hello.
Yes.
We need more OBs. We need more nurse midwives. We need more midwives. We need more lactation consultants. We need more doulas. And we believe in 2026, every mom should have a choice of provider. And if you want a provider that shares your same background or that speaks your same language, you should be able to do it. We can have it all. We can have it all, but we need your help. So please call your representatives. Please call your senators. Ask them to co-sponsor the Momnibus. Share your story. Check out that Momnibus money tracker. And then report back to Charles and Gabby about your progress, because they're up here with credibility, putting in the time and the hard work. They're serious. And we're so grateful for your leadership. Thank you.
Send us your stories. If you have questions, you can always go to 4Kira4Moms.com, 4Kira4Moms on Instagram, info@4Kira4Moms, but we're always here to support.
Congressman Underwood, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being you. We're just so grateful for your leadership and your stewardship of this through administrative changes, through regime changes, everything. You have been steadfast.
Thank you.
And I know that it's not easy, but we're so grateful. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. We want it all.
Yes.
We want it all. You deserve it all. We want it all, and we hope that you do. Thank you for joining us.
Happy Mother's Week.
Oh my gosh.